All right, everyone. Welcome. Happy Friday. Welcome to Broker Connect. So like I said, people are still trickling in, but that's okay. We'll let people join the meeting as they come in and, pick up where we are. My name is Kelly Galloway. I do marketing here at ARIVE. I'm so glad everyone could join us today. Thanks for being here. So for those of you who do not know, Broker Connect is an interactive bi-weekly meeting with top brokers and ARIVE users where you can learn best practices, get insight into how other people are using the system, and just get a ton of tips as well. So I am here today with Jason Turner and Frank Collo. I'm super excited to have both of these gentlemen here today. Before I turn it over to them to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their brokerage and of course to answer any of your questions, I just have a few pieces of business to take care of. I promise I will not be too long. All right, so for those who don't know, we have a ton of weekly learning events here at ARIVE. I'm going to run through the list. We really have a lot. So if you're interested in learning more, in learning training, and just learning more about the system, take some notes here. We have an onboarding and Q&A session. This is offered twice per week, and this is really step one of your ARIVE training if you're a new user. We have 2 sessions of new user training every Wednesday. There's a part 1 and a part 2 as well. We also have office hours with our product experts. This is offered 4 times per week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. We have a special processor-specific training. This is on Wednesday as well. We have an AE training session also offered on Wednesday. Wednesday is stacked on the ARIVE end. So if you want your AEs to be better versed on the system and just be better partners to you, tell them to join our AE training on Wednesdays. We also have ARIVE University. This is every other Friday. This is where you can join and learn all about the updates and enhancements made to the ARIVE platform. And then, of course, we have this session, Broker Connect, my favorite session. I'm not biased at all. And this is every other Friday. So if you would like to register or just learn more about these events, all of these can be found on arrive.com/events. I'll drop the link in the chat here for you in just a second. And you can sign up for all of these events right through our website. They're all free too. I do want to mention that. All of our training sessions are completely free. All right. I'm done talking. I'm going to get to the good stuff now, and we're going to dive right into Broker Connect. So Jason and Frank, thank you both so much for being here today. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of your knowledge. So Jason, why don't you kick it off and introduce yourself and your brokerage, and then we'll turn it over to Frank and you can do the same.
Yeah, sure. So I started Navigator Mortgage Brokers really at the height of COVID, because why not? And decided to jump right in to be a broker owner. So I needed an LOS at the time and was somewhat familiar with the old ARIVE, but was super excited when the new ARIVE came out to really get into it. Been a broker now for about 3 years. I was in retail before, where I started my career about 12 years ago, and love being a broker. And I love using ARIVE at the moment. So, yeah.
Cool. Frank, how about you?
I'm doing good. Welcome, everyone. My name is Frank. I'm the broker owner of New Joy Mortgage, located here in New York City. I've been an ARIVE user now for many years. Our prior software that we were using is Kalex, for those old school guys out there that were using the dinosaur software. And 2019, actually 2018, we were, going into 19, we were offered to go on the pilot with ARIVE, and we were fortunate enough to be there from the beginning as they were building up, the software. And great people on the call today, like Tara, that's my girl out there. I know she's somewhere in the mix, and great people in ARIVE that have helped us build out what you guys see today and will be seeing, hopefully, when you guys sign up with ARIVE.
All right, awesome. Well, again, thank you both for being here. I can't stress enough how awesome it is that we get people like Jason and Frank to come on to this session, because we don't pay these folks. We don't give them any sort of special treatment or anything like that. They're here really out of the kindness of their own hearts to talk to you about ARIVE. So with that being said, This is an interactive session. This is not a session for me to talk at you or for anyone to talk at you. This is a session for you to get your questions answered by our real users who are on here today. So I encourage everyone to take themselves off of mute and please ask a question if you have it. These events sort of tend to start with a little bit of a lull. People get a little bit more comfortable as the session sort of goes on, but I want you guys to feel comfortable to take yourself off of mute and ask your question. If you're not comfortable with that, feel free to drop it in the chat and we can answer it there.
Okay.
That said, what do we have today, folks? What do you have for Jason and Frank? We can talk about their transition to the platform, what exactly that looked like for them. We can talk about training. We can talk about how they set certain things up, their settings, you know, all of that good stuff. So if you have a question, please take yourself off mute and ask it.
I got a question for you. As far as setting up like fee templates for different states, you know, when I was an Encompass user in retail, I literally just transferred over to being a broker owner in December. And the facts are, it was one of these, you know, we used to just hit the drop down and you were good to go. And it would, you know, input those fees. You know, I don't think you're allowed to have third-party application fees and in the state of New Jersey. So, or you weren't allowed to have third-party processing in New Jersey. So you had to do an application fee, and I'm starting to see some issues with how I'm setting it up. And I didn't know if there was any way to do that where it automatically, you know, you could just click the button, and if it's New Jersey, it's going to go into New Jersey.
Yeah, that's a great question, Joe, right? Yeah. The way it's set up is that, yeah, you can definitely set that up within the states and within the lenders. So when you price it out, and so if you go to the fee template, it should be pulling the integrated fees in there, but you could also add in, if you wanted to do a processing fee or whatever type of fee you're allowed to charge the consumer in there so that it comes up on the state. You know, if not, support ARIVE is really great. You shoot them an email, you say, hey, look, I want to set this up for my team, and somebody reaches out to you and they kind of like walk you through the process on that. But it's definitely something that you can do, Joe, for sure.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Joe.
That's actually a great question, because that's some of the things you guys are going to want to work on right up front, is that fee worksheet, especially for you guys out there and teams that are licensed in multiple states. You want to set up your compensation, your lenders, your fee worksheet, so that when your originators go in there, it literally takes seconds to bring that sheet up and for them to, you know, to disclose that information to the consumer. So that's like one of the cool things about it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't play around with it too much because I do most of my business in just one state. But you know, as far as like what I like about ARIVE the most is how easy it is to edit the fee sheet if you need to. So because I do most of my business in just one state, I really don't mess with it too much. But it is very, very easy to edit, and the smart fee integration was life-changing to me. I just love it so much because I would always have to go somewhere else to look up transfer taxes, you know, and figure out like, all right, what is going to be appropriate for this particular county and whatnot. And the smart fee integration just saves me a ton of time. So that's what I like the most about that part.
We do have a question in the chat here. So did either one of you come from Encompass or was it Calyx?
I mean, I didn't go straight from it, but I've used Encompass in the past, so I'm familiar with it.
Can you talk about maybe sort of the differences there? So one person is asking about moving from Encompass to ARIVE. And the experience with that. And obviously you didn't move right over from ARIVE, but can you talk a little, or I'm sorry, right over from Encompass to ARIVE, but can you talk a little bit about your transition experience just in general?
Yeah, sure. So the interface is so much different, and ARIVE is so much better at just laying things out and making it easier to navigate. Encompass is very like Excel based, if you will, and it's just like, I don't know, kind of grainy and granular, and you know, it just looks like old school Microsoft, if you will. But the interface on ARIVE is much better, and you know, it's laid out like a 1003 like most applications are, but it's just easier to use, and that's what really drew me into it. It's so easy to navigate, as opposed to like tabs and different screens to go into and whatnot. Like it was, I don't know, the bar on the left hand side is just so easy to navigate. It's very intuitive, and that's, you know, why one of the reasons why I like it.
Cool. And it looks like Joe, our friend Joe over here, you have some experience, right? You just moved from Encompass to Arrive. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that went for you?
Yeah, life got so much better. It Encompass was absolutely terrible. Between getting kicked off, I was on multiple Encompass platforms with different companies, and if like the company was cheap, you could have a real terrible experience with Encompass, and I've had both. And I would say, like, I brought a processor over, and she was questioning if she was going to come with me to do the broker thing because she was in retail for 25 years. She's like, oh, I don't know, like it could just be a lot. And I'm like, well, I got no clue what I'm doing. So, I'll be in the same boat. And she went over and I was like, just look at the videos. And I made her do like 2 of your classes before we even signed up. And I said, just look at the videos. I said, it doesn't look bad at all. And now she is like loving it. I don't think she would go back to Encompass if they made her or if I made her, because it's life changing. And we've figured out a lot of things. Like even yesterday, if you're signed up with the borrower or like the investors with Arrive, you don't have to download the 3.2 and upload it into the website for the investor. You can literally do it right through Arrive, and it saves so much time. And she was manually inputting everything in. And I always do check-ins. I'm like, how you liking things? How you liking it? And she's like, oh, it's not bad. It's time consuming for this. And yesterday she reached out to me and she was just like, Joe, she's like, I am blown away. Like the fact that it does all of this, she couldn't get over it. So I will say, if you're coming from Encompass, it's an super easy transfer. It makes life so much easier. I worked from my car for like 4 hours the other day, which I could never do with Encompass, because if you didn't have like high-speed internet or you were plugged in, it did not operate. And I worked, fast paced as I usually do, right on a hotspot.
Very nice. Love that testimonial. Thanks for jumping in there, Joe. Polly has a question here in the chat. This might be better for Tara. But is there a way to create a specific pipeline report and save the settings so we don't have to recreate it each time we want to update? I'm not sure if Frank or Jason, you two want to take that.
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, no worries.
Are they referring to the MCR or the pipeline? I'm sorry.
Looks like they're trying to create a specific pipeline report and save the settings so they don't have to recreate it each time.
Yeah, so you could save it. So if you wanted to run funding dates on your quarters, or if you wanted to run a specific report so that you could zap it into like Google Sheets or something like that, you could definitely do that.
Very nice. Thank you. It looks like Chris, you have a couple questions. If you want to jump right in, please take yourself off mute.
All righty. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. A couple questions. Does this system, I'm with Calyx right now. I have been for the last 20 years. We're trying to figure out, it's a little archaic, as we all know, from Blink to Zenly to different things. So we've heard about this system with Arrive, and we've had one demo before, but some of the things weren't quite up to date, but we've heard things have changed. So my questions are, does your system merge with clients to a CRM such as Top of Mind? Surefire.
Yeah, good question, Chris. So we use Zapier. So whatever integrates with Zapier is something that we would be able to use. So it's not system specific. You would go to Zapier, and I think we have a list of that. Tara, do you know if we have that link lying around somewhere of systems that integrate with Zapier?
It would be a list that's on the Zapier site. So as long as they have connection to Zapier, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about Zapier, so how do I spell that? Zapier. I'm assuming I can Google and find that out.
Yes, yeah. I'll go ahead and pop it in the chat as well.
Thank you. And can I run DU and LP in the system?
At the same time.
At the same time. All right. So I don't have to upload it to UWM and worry about their systems. I can stay away from that if I want to. Thank you for that. I'm writing that email down. And when I'm ordering my VOEs and title and insurance, is there a formatted sheet in Arrive that will automatically take the employment history or what have you and put it in the formats, and then I don't have to type it in manually?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. What's the negative with Arrive?
Getting right into it, Chris. I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know, man. The negative. Wow, that's hard.
Nothing's ever all good, right? So there's always something that is like, okay, let me rephrase that question. What is Arrive hoping to do next with their system? What's their next new upgrade or new tool?
So Chris, it's a great question. There's pros and cons in any software that you're going to invest into. And over the years, we've invested into so many different types of softwares and apps. What I like about Arrive is that even if there's a con, they are open to your feedback, right? Their team is always, hey, what can we do to get better? And there's been plenty of times that, we've sent the feedback over and they're like, that's a great idea. Let's work on that as a team. I would say the only con, I'm just going to speak for myself here, is the processing workflow that we're like, look, we're praying it comes out soon, because we're already more advanced in the Arrive systems and we want something to keep our processors organized and task manage it within the software itself. Now, right now, what's cool about Arrive for those who don't have it is that when the consumer uploads a document into the system, our processor has a conditions tab where she could select if she reviewed it, if she sent it to the lender, and it's awesome. She can write notes in there, and we can even copy the condition code from the lender site and put it into Arrive. Awesome. So think of it like a commitment letter that's in Arrive. The only thing is it doesn't have task management for the processor to say, hey, and keep them organized in terms of the file itself. So we have to use a separate task management system to keep them organized.
All right, I'll take that all day long. Can I run call reports in the system every quarter?
Yeah, it's super easy because before we used to have to pay a third-party company. It's so easy now. I always recommend, guys, always double check your numbers. It's with any system, but it literally takes me seconds to run it, and then we compare it to the app log, and we make sure everything looks good. And what I like to do is I like to have two screens open, one with all the files on one side, and then I look at the line items for the call report, and I can compare the two to make sure everything looks good. So,
all right, and like for myself, I've been doing this a while, and I've got 1,500 things and people and contacts. How is my data storage with Arrive? How can I transfer all of our company's past clients for the last 5, 6, 10 years, or can I transfer all of that data into Arrive, or do I need to find another system? Like the 1003s. I don't need documents. I just need like basic information. Can I do that? I know that's kind of a long ask.
I think Tara can answer. I haven't did it in years. We transitioned over 2019, Chris. So Tara, you want to chime in on that?
Sure. So Chris, you would have to import your files on a 1-by-1 basis in Arrive. You would just import the 3.4 or the 3.2 file. Okay. We have, if you go to YouTube and you go to Arrive, we've had a number of sessions, especially in the very beginning of Arrive, where we talked about how to transition your pipeline. We have some brokers, and someone can unmute and chime in if you'd like. But we've had some that either took a quarter and imported that in and just kept everything else on an external drive. So different brokerages have done different things, and Jason raised his hand. So go ahead, Jason, you can chime in.
Yeah, I did exactly what you just said. So I was on LendingPad when I first started as a broker. And then when I started getting into Arrive, I just downloaded all the 3.2 or 3.4 files and then uploaded them into Arrive so I would have accurate records. And I kept LendingPad for a while, just in case. And eventually it got to the point where I just didn't need it anymore, and I was just paying for it unnecessarily. So I just went through everything and downloaded it all, so I have it on my computer, but also got it into Arrive as well, so it was all accurate.
All right, so I mean, it's a good problem to have when you have a bunch of files to put in there, but at some point they kind of become archaic themselves. It's just kind of cool when you can go, oh, are you still at Windward Governor or whatever? When you can act like you haven't talked to somebody in 6 years, but you still know them like you talked to them yesterday.
Right.
All right, so I'll let anybody else, instead of me hogging up the time. I've got most of my big questions. We are in the process of trying to figure out which one to use, and we need to make a decision here shortly. So I think we're already set up on a 30-day trial with my partner, and he's been in touch with the team to figure out who has access. So we're looking forward to this.
Cool. Chris, we appreciate all your questions. I actually have one more link for you. So our CEO did do a presentation last week on our 2023 roadmap of things that are coming down the pipeline, you know, enhancements that we're making, things we're updating, stuff like that. We don't have a recording of the entire session. However, we do have an overview or a recap available for you. So if you're interested in seeing what that looks like for the rest of the year, I did just drop that link in the chat.
Excellent. And Tara, thank you for your email. I'm writing that down as well. Actually, I'm going to start taking pictures of this stuff. It'd be easier. I'm old school. I've been doing this too long, but they're teaching me how to actually have two screens. I just got two screens like 2 years ago.
Wow.
But they laughed at me, but you know, I do fairly well. Nice. Yeah, does anybody else have any questions? What questions should we be asking that we haven't yet?
Well, let's go for it.
Sorry, I had to mute you because I had a phone call, so hopefully I'm not repeating a question that was just earlier. So in my situation is that I'm a loan officer and
hey Carol, I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of trouble here. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah. Is that better?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm a loan officer with my company. Once I send a loan to processing, I lose control of the fee sheet. So as an example, I have a loan in underwriting that the borrower wants to lower the loan amount, which is lowering my comp and also changing her credit. It's borrower paid. How do I go in? So I am a Calyx user for 20 plus years, and I was able to go into Calyx on a read-only basis once it was sent to processing, change all my numbers, print out a fee sheet, and get to the bottom line. I spent hours yesterday trying to figure this out, and the phone call I just had to jump off and mute you, mute the session, is because somebody was trying to help me with this with my company. How do I go in when it's not even read only? I have grayed out of everything. I went into the edit tab, but the numbers are not calculating correctly.
Tara, do you have any thoughts?
I'm sorry, I was talking on mute. Carol, my email is actually in the chat. If you wouldn't mind just sending me an email with that low number, we can jump on a Zoom together and troubleshoot. I'll put my email back in the chat again. If you want to reach out to me, we can Zoom and take a look at what's going on.
That would be so great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I caught part of that. Basically, I can have different people who are admin and owners who have access to all files, and then I can put it to where just a loan officer can just look at their only file, correct?
So is that a question for me?
Yeah, whoever. Is that what we're talking about?
So yeah, so I can only look at my files, but once it's sent to processing, I go into the fee sheet or the fees. I cannot change anything. Then I went to the top left-hand corner and did edit. And when I changed the fees and changed the loan amount, it didn't work.
Okay. Now to everyone at ARIVE, is that because she has solo permission opposed to admin permission to generalize verbiage here? Like as an owner, I want to be able to look at every loan officer in my company anytime I want. But as a typical loan officer, they're not allowed to look at anybody else's files. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is there a division?
Yes, there is. And so what your LOs would do is they would essentially share their pipeline with another LO, processor, or LOA if they want them to have access. But you as a company owner would have access to everyone's pipeline.
Gotcha. Because our company works the same way as this other young lady was having trouble with, is because when it goes to processing, you as a loan officer aren't allowed to touch that. That is now processing's job. You have to communicate with them to change a loan amount or a rate. You can play around in the system, but that way you can't accidentally farfigure something up, right? What's that? Oh, sorry.
Well, for me, the editing, when I click on editing, it doesn't, the numbers are not working.
Oh, just
So
go
as an
overall.
example, I had a loan amount of 277, or I changed it to 277. It was like 400. She wanted to put a lot more down. We changed it to 277. I changed certain fees, my broker comp, everything. It had her bringing to closing 295,000. Then I increased it to 289,000, and it's having her only bring $1,000 more. So again, it's not, the numbers aren't working.
Yeah, Carol, definitely send me an email and we'll take a closer look at that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So what, and just to clarify, it wasn't that you couldn't even get into it. It was when you playing with it, it wasn't a matter of saving it. It was a matter of it just wasn't reading anything you were typing in, correct?
It was reading incorrectly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I've
But
gone down to,
also on that note, on another file last week, what ARIVE told the owner of my company is what I need to do was to go under loan quotes. And that's how I could create a new fee sheet, but it didn't allow me to change anything. So that was wrong information unless they misunderstood the question. Because I just wanted to go in and make some changes, and it didn't even allow me to change anything. But Terry, you and I can talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely, Carol. We'll definitely jump on a Zoom. We'll do a screen share and we'll go over it together.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Tara. All right, I have a question that's been asked a couple times here. So Tom would like someone to talk towards the best way to handle multiple loan scenarios for a single borrower. Anyone want to take that?
What we do here is, what I love about the pricing engine is that you can compare and do what is called a loan comparison. So if, let's say for an example, Tom, you want to run an FHA loan, you price it out as a FHA. There's a little button there that says compare. You click on the product that you want. You go back up. You click, you drop down box to conventional. You reprice the file out. It saves it. You hit, you check the box off, and when you compare it, it merges both products side by side, kind of like the Zillow graph that you see there with the calculator. And it's a great way to show consumers the difference between an FHA or conventional product. So it's pretty cool in that sense, and you could actually add a fee worksheet to that loan comparison if you wanted to.
Is there a video anywhere to see how that's done? Just because I know it sounds easy, but then as soon as you get to it, it's like, all right, where do I click for this?
It's super easy, dude. Like if I show you, it's literally, when your pricing comes up on your rates, there's a little box that you could choose a rate. You click on that, the blue button on the left-hand side of the rate, it's gonna highlight to hit compare. When you hit that, it stores the pricing right on top, and then all you do is you go back up to your top, and you drop down box if you want to, let's say, do conventional. You hit conventional, you hit price, it brings up the rates. You click on the rate you want, that blue button highlights. You click on it, and then once you do that, it automatically merges the product together, like when you do like a fee worksheet or something like that. Except you're going to see what's called a loan comparison, and then there's a little button there you can add in the fee. So, but it really is easy, Joe. I could send the video to you guys, and you guys can see it.
Okay, cool.
Tara or Adam, do you know if we happen to have a video on that?
Ellie, I just threw a video in the chat.
Oh,
Lorinda,
awesome.
sorry.
Thank you so much, Lorinda.
Lorinda snuck in here.
Yeah. All right, cool. So we do have a video in the chat there for you guys. Thanks so much for explaining that, Frank. Another question we have out here that I just lost. Hold on one second. Oh, someone asked about manually adding in lenders that aren't integrated on the platform. Do either of you, Frank or Jason, have you experienced that before? Is that something you could speak towards?
Yeah, I've done it quite a bit because as much as I love the integrated lenders, there are lenders out there that aren't, and it's really easy. You just put in their information, name, mortgagee, clause, that kind of thing. So ARIVE has all the information. So when it's time to order a title and whatnot, it's all already in there. It's pretty straightforward.
Cool. Tim would like to know the best practice to present the buy down compared to non-buy down.
So I've only done this once, and it was very recently. And there's a buy down button, and I haven't really explored it too much. I know that Arrive can create a sheet where it'll show, year 1, year 2, or year 3 if it's a 3-2-1 when you're comparing products, and that can definitely be done. But worst case scenario, if it can't be done, then you can just literally manually adjust the rate and then show year 1, year 2, year 3 in like 3 different comparison sheets, and that works just the same.
All right. All right.
I have a quick question.
Please, yes, jump in.
Is anyone on the platform utilizing Arrive for basically a funded file like pipeline management in regards to file access or saving a file? So record retention, basically.
Yeah.
Is there a way to use Arrive that way? So let's say if there was an audit, we had to pull a full funded file and you need to actually get your electronic file. Is anybody using Arrive for that?
Yeah,
or using some other system?
Yeah, it's all I use. So everything's in Arrive, ever since day one. So anything I would ever need is going to be in there.
So you just export the full file, like if you're going to send it to a lender.
Yeah, if I needed to be, that would all be in there. You could put it in the document section. I think if you were using UWM and you got their big PDF that they send with everything, you could certainly put it into Arrive and it would store it. Yeah.
Irma, I would highly recommend you have a backup. So what we do is, whether it's a Google Drive, secure obviously, or OneDrive, what you could do is, one of the things our processors does at the end is a compliance task for them. They download the compliance package or whatever we need for the audit, and we put it in a separate folder along in Arrive. So we have a backup to the Arrive system. It's always good to have a separate file for all of your closed funded loans.
Okay, thank you. That makes sense.
Awesome, Irma. Thank you. All right. So we have about 30 minutes or a little under 30 minutes left. So again, I want to encourage everyone, take yourself off mute and jump right in.
I've got a question if no one else is asking one right now.
5 years course.
Go for it. I'm going to mute Chris. Go for it, Trent.
So I'm a loan assistant, processor, and an LO, and so I get to see a lot of the back end stuff. One thing that I've noticed, we've started using the conditions tab a lot. So we get conditions from a investor, put it in there, assign it to whoever, then we can upload documents, keep track of it. Certain documents that are already uploaded, when you click to upload existing, they won't transfer over. It won't show on that screen. I'm assuming it's just like a glitch. Like if you send out a document for an e-sign and then you try to upload it in there, on mine anyways, that one won't pop up. And there's just certain ones that like I have to download the document and then re-upload it and then it shows, which to me is a little wonky. Is that just a glitch that needs to be worked out? And then the other question, I guess, or comment I have, we don't use the smart fees so much. We usually just put them in because we know what they are for our local area. Anytime we reprice it, resets it. Is there a way that we can have it not reset it every time we reprice a loan?
Tara.
That's a good question, Trent. And actually, it is a great question. I think that's like an Arrive support thing to find out like what's going on with that. But that's actually a really good question. Something to bring up.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's something one of our wonderful product experts can weigh in on, if that sounds glitchy to them.
I am sorry. I had stepped away for a moment. Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, there's two things that I kind of see that are a little glitchy or a little difficult. The first one is kind of easy, is when we go through and put all of our fees in the fees tab, anytime you go through and reprice the loan, it like wipes it out and starts over, which is really kind of frustrating. It'd be nice if it just saves. The other one that I have is we use the conditions tab. So anytime we get conditions, we upload them in there, assign it to the right person. I've noticed that like if you get a condition and you go through ARIVE and use the e-sign, it won't, when you go to try and upload existing document to that condition, it won't show. Sometimes some of the documents that are already in the documents tab won't show when you click upload existing document.
So in regards to your fee question, I have received personally a lot of feedback in regards to that. And I do know that we have a ticket in to have that section addressed. I do know that the pricing area of ARIVE is going to be a focus this year. For the second question, Lorinda, are you familiar with that at all?
The documents not uploading or the fees resetting?
The document part the client needs. I mean, the conditions.
Conditions. I have not seen that one, but I would be trying to send me an email and I can totally get online with you and we can troubleshoot it together. See if it's something that it's just a weird glitch in it, or if it's something that actually is just not working correctly.
Okay, I don't have your email. I'll put mine in the chat if you want to reach out to me, or if you could reach out to me.
And Tara, I was actually we were actually one of the users that sent you that as well, because we would go in and set the fees with the lenders, but then when we hit the integrated fee, well, it just definitely.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was office hours. You and I were discussing it.
Yeah. So thank you, Trent, for bringing that one back up. You just reminded me.
Thanks, Trent. No, I'm just teasing.
You're welcome to give you some more work.
We got to keep you busy, Tara. Come on, you know.
Frank, you've been keeping me busy since 2019.
So funny. All right, let's keep it going with questions. We're going through a lot of good topics today. Jason Glass, you look like you want to ask something, or maybe you're just taking phone calls during this session. I can't tell. Gotcha.
I would have to say that on the one-off specific questions, like the DocuSign question that you were asking, I have gotten the most tools using the office hour sessions. When it's something specific, what I've been doing is I've been writing down my notes on something that either I couldn't figure out or it wasn't working the way I thought it should be working. So I'd write down my questions and then I would jump on an office hours and they do the screen share. They tackle it with you right there. They basically will troubleshoot your question on a call with a bunch of people. So it's a direct hit on what you need. You figure it out and you're done. So I highly recommend those calls. The fact that you guys have them available is awesome because like I said, I write down the question, I jump on the call, I figure it out, they show me and I move on.
Yeah. Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, our office hours, most of the people who run our office hour sessions are actually in this session right now. So they're always learning, they're always trying to help. And, you know, our office hours are an underutilized resource for sure. Like I said earlier at the very beginning of this, we have them available 4 days per week. Vince, who ran our office hours session today, I'm not even sure if many people hopped on today's session. So when you join these sessions, you do actually have the opportunity to get your questions answered and get problems solved. So definitely join us for those, like I said, 4 days a week. All right, everyone, drop your questions either in the chat or take yourself right off mute and join the conversation.
I'm going to call out someone real quick, Kelly. I know Joe had a specific question, and I think it was specific for Frank yesterday during office hours. Joe, did you want to talk to Frank a little bit about Zapier?
Did Joe leave?
I see him still here.
Blank desk.
Uh-oh. Okay. I'll have to email him. But yes,
Well,
Frank, I was mentioning you yesterday, so I might need to connect you and Joe together about Zapier.
Yeah, you got it. You know, one thing for those that are new, here's just quick tips, right? Because we have just about 15 to 20 minutes left. The one thing I would recommend everyone is focus not only on your training your LOs and going and utilizing the training modules that's in ARIVE that they could look at, and they have all these PDFs, but start to focus on your email milestones, right? That is like when you talk about the key features of ARIVE, what makes it different, right? So most important thing is communication to me. And what I loved about it is that, you know, as soon as the processing team or the loan originator qualifies the consumer or the processor gets the loan clear to close, there's an email milestone that goes out. Work on that. So the first thing you guys should be working on is your lenders, is your fee worksheet, and it's going to be your process when it comes to communication, because you could add all sorts of people on there, the attorney, the agent, you know, have a process for your people. Make sure they put their business contacts in there. And then from there, the attorney, all the realtors get an email. That's going to be your biggest thing, because once you start to see those milestones go out, and you could, you know, add your logo to it, you could revise the verbiage on there. It's awesome. It's going to remove a lot of the inefficiencies that a loan officer has or processor has with communication. So utilize that first. That's my best practice for you guys as you join. And, you know, one of the cool things too is your client needs list. Like we set up ARIVE where, you know, when a consumer does their employment income, employment information, if they're self-employed, ARIVE automatically conditions them for 2 years of business tax returns. Guys, this is like here when it comes to, you know, client needs. No more asking, no more giving people submission checklists, no more saying, oh yeah, I need your last pay stub. When somebody actually puts in overtime in the field in the 1003, we have it conditioned where it already automatically shoots out last 2 years, the end of year pay stubs for the last 2 years. You guys could create stuff from scratch. Now, you could obviously talk to the ARIVE team about how to set that up. I wouldn't be your contact person for that. But I can tell you this much: you guys got to really dig in when it comes to your into your email templates, who you want to be contacted, who you want those person to be reached out to, and your client needs is going to save your originators and processors a lot of time in the future. So
I 100% agree with that, Frank. I've been trying to automate as much as possible within the system and make it kind of like a one-stop shop, because otherwise I'm communicating out of my email box and sending emails to customers and then going into another system. And I'm trying to do everything out of ARIVE because it not only documents the conversation. If somebody else needs to jump in on the file, they can see the last communication. You can actually check a box that it emails a loan officer automatically every time you update a file. And especially like you said, those email templates and the conditions. I too spent more time on setting up that feature when we first got started so that certain milestones obviously would go out. Like you said, if they fill out an application and it says, you know, they have a permanent residence card, it automatically asks them for that ID and they upload it right into the system. So 100% agree. Take the time to really set up for it to utilize the tools as much as possible to minimize work. So kind of like work smarter, not harder type mentality.
yeah,
And it's
awesome.
really
Great
super
job.
easy to set up the system, like unbelievably easy.
Yeah, great job, you know, and write down what you want. Write down the process, guys, for your company. How do you want the LO to originate the file? How do you want processor to pick up the file? Like, you got to sit down, you know, put it on the whiteboard. I'm living out of my whiteboards even to this day, but you want a piece of paper, like what Irma just says, like it's super easy. You just got to write it down, and then you got to then input it into the system. And then of course, ARIVE support helps you with any questions you have from there, you know? So good job, Irma.
All right, cool. Thank you both. We're just getting a ton of information and tips here from everyone involved on the call. So really appreciate everyone who has chimed in thus far. Joe, my friend, you're back in the limelight because Tara told on you. She said that you have a question specifically for Frank that you might want to ask. Is that true?
About Zapier? So,
yes.
During office hours yesterday.
Oh, yeah. I was saying that yesterday I was saying about how I met with that person that they have everything linked through Zapier to their CRM and so forth. I guess, Frank, you have that.
Yeah. I hired a consultant to set it up for me though. Like
Yeah.
you could, seek out Zapier consultants that can do it. But we have multiple Zaps coming out our system, So, and Arrive gives you, your consultant like a list of what they share in terms of APIs. But yeah, you can absolutely do it. The workaround if they can't do it is you gotta zap it into Google Sheets, and then from there Google Sheets would zap it into your whatever software you want to put your stuff into.
What CRM are you using?
Well, we're using, we have more of a taskmaster system because, as Irma shared with you, when you have everything set up with Arrive, there's really minimum work. Because think about this, right? Right, we have 5 days a week from at 9 a.m. Every person gets followed up within the system to upload their document. So, we don't really need that CRM type stuff. We just need more stuff that keeps us organized. But a new system that we got into was Bonzo, and Bonzo is more of a communication platform. And so we're using Bonzo for those like specific campaigns. So we're in the process of with that. And one thing is that Bonzo integrates with Arrive. So the milestones from Arrive, they already have a pipeline stage for Arrive that it's already created for. So you kind of just go in there and it sets it up and so forth. So, but you can really integrate it into anything you want, Joe. Really, honestly.
Gotcha.
It's just you might have to do the workaround with the Google Sheets if they don't share that, in terms of the API with Thrive.
Got it. Is there a way to save vendor templates? Like I know with Encompass, I used to be able to save in like all the different title companies that I worked with, so that I didn't have to type in all their information each time. I was in there yesterday. I was trying to do it, and I was clicking, like the business, and I thought I was saving it in, but every time I went to go back, it wouldn't save in. Is that something that is a feature or no?
Are you talking about orders when you want to do like title orders and so forth?
No. So like if you go into, I got to say it to be able to say it, but
are there the fees for the title company, like smart fees?
No, it's so the setup in contacts, like when you're putting in business contacts, I didn't know if there was a way to save business contacts so that you can just, it automates right in, like you can just click like TS Executive or whatever title company that your agents use.
Yeah, what I noticed from that is anytime we order title, let's say in a refi, our processor just puts in the business contact, and then once it's within the file itself, right, loan and setup, whatever, and then they just do the title orders from there, and we have it set up for the HOIs the same way, so that's how we're doing it now. Just within, it's saved in there. We just go into each file, then we add whatever contact we want, and then from there we make the orders.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I see like for the business contacts, like it looks like it saves a lot of like the real estate agents and stuff, but I just wasn't sure if it would save in the. Oh yeah, it actually does. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah, title. It has transaction coordinators. You could put in all types of closing agents, all that. Here in New York, we have like 5 people in every file. It's a settlement attorney. There's this, is that. So you could put all those people on there. Yeah.
Nice.
I have a question.
Sorry, I was on mute and I was talking to myself. Go ahead.
This might be for Frank, but if anybody else has any input, I'd appreciate it, because Frank did mention that you do utilize Zapier to move information from Arrive to Google Sheets, and I was looking to do the same thing, not only for from there to move to my CRM, but also for my state reporting, versus the MCRs that are quarterly. My state requires them monthly, so I would like to do that into Google Sheets and then do that. But honestly, Zapier, I mean, I do mortgages, so Zapier, I tried. It's Greek to me. Do you have anyone that, because I'm not a programmer and it all really looks confusing. So it was not another thing that I wanted to learn. Did you utilize anyone to help you with that, or?
Yeah, you do. You need to, because there's all types of things that come up when you start these projects. And you could go to Zapier's website, and actually they have a directory for consultants that are certified. Or you could go to another website. I think it's called Fever, right? Or something like that. What's the other website? I don't know if anyone chimes in on that.
Fiverr, yeah.
Fiverr?
Yeah. Yeah, Fiverr is basically like you could, you know, hire consultants based on your projects and stuff like that. So they're definitely out there, and it's worth the money because you're obviously, you know, it just makes the process so much better. But it's a pretty easy setup once they do it. You just got to monitor it if there's any glitches or anything like that. So, but I would highly recommend speaking to a consultant. They charge you, you know, by the hour for the work, and you give them the project, and they set it up for you pretty quickly, actually.
Okay. I noticed you put in the chat here, Upwork, is that another one?
Yeah, so Upwork is sort of like the same thing where you can hire people to do any sort of work you need, whether it's, you know, designing websites or someone working on your Zapier integrations.
Awesome.
I just talked to somebody yesterday, and it's like super reasonable. That's all she does, and she was gonna link my CRM to Be in Touch, or Be in Touch, my CRM, to Arrive, and she was saying she could link Trello and all this. They got like two different options. You could do like the one package where you get 5 hours, and the 5 hour package I think is like $8.95 or something like that, and it's like a one-time thing, and the hours don't expire. But she told me, she's like, they have a 75-minute package too, where it's like, she said you can probably get away with 175-minute package to set everything up. Like, I guess they're that good, they know what they're doing. And that was only like, I want to say it was like 2 something. She's like, worst case scenario, buy another 75-minute package. She's like, you're at 5. But considering, like you said, you're Greek to it, I have zero clue what I'm doing with it.
Yeah,
I'd rather just have the hours, and then I can go back and do more. Because she was asking me, and she's like, oh, it does this, 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 and this. And it's like some of the stuff I didn't even think about. So my goal is I was going to hop in some of the forums on Facebook, see what people are using as far as what data that they want to go to their CRM and what data they don't want to go to their CRM. And then down the road, I could always say, like, if I have 2 hours left, hey, can you pull this data in for me into the CRM? And then at least that way you have it. And it was under $900. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah, there's some things, I mean, that would, you know, what they can knock out in a couple hours would take me a week. Yeah. So it's just worth doing that. But if you have like a contact or a link that you wouldn't mind sharing.
I did. I put it in the chat. So if you email me, I'll email you back and I'll connect you with her.
I will do that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All righty.
So Tim had a question here about Arrive notifies everything.
Yep.
So real quick, Tim. So one of the best things that we discovered is that when you send an app link, right, like for the consumer, and you can set up where they're going to get followed up by Arrive. So Arrive has this follow-up as pending task. Hey, you got to do your online app now, or hey, and we hit them up every day at 9 a.m. And they're basically nudging them to do the online app. They're nudging them to complete their task. So yes, you set it up. It's basically a toggle. You click on it, and it automatically does it for you, Tim.
Thank you for that, Frank. All right, everyone, we have only a couple more minutes left. This has been a really awesome session. I feel like we got to some topics that we don't normally get to in this session. So it's really great seeing everyone participate and ask those questions. So I appreciate that. Before I wrap it up, one final chance for questions. Does anyone have any question that they want to bring to the group or to Jason and Frank specifically? All right, everyone. Well, I want to give a very big thank you and shout out to our hosts, Frank and Jason. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much again for just joining this session. It really means a lot for you guys to share your time with us. We know that you're extremely busy. So thank you for that. You can catch us live back here in 2 weeks for another session of Broker Connect. We'll have a great new pair of hosts ready to answer all of your questions. So hope to see you there. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Good luck,
Thanks,
everyone.
Frank. Thanks, Jason.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.